You know exactly what I'm talking about because it affected you today. One small cue, one comment, one memory, and your whole internal state shifted in seconds. That's the mind's prediction system doing exactly what it was designed to do: respond to patterns it believes are still relevant. The problem is they may no longer be relevant, and then they hold you back or keep you stuck. Neuroscience has consistently shown that the mind reacts to stored meanings faster than it reacts to the present moment. And when something resembles an unresolved emotional experience, triggers that thought, your mind activates old interpretations before you can consciously evaluate what's happening. The real reason people struggle to let things go isn't because the past is more powerful than your ability to manage it, but because it is unmanaged. And this is often due to the meaning that their mind attached to that past moment, which is still active, still operating in the background, like the app you forgot to close. Letting go is a psychological recalibration. It's the mind management decision to say, this interpretation is no longer accurate. It doesn't shape how I see myself anymore. I'm going to change how it plays out into my future. In this week's episode, we are going to break down the art of letting go and the 3 strategies that finally help you release what no longer belongs in your emotional world anymore. Let's begin. Before we go any deeper, I want to speak directly to the people who show up here every week. A large portion of listeners tune in consistently, but only a smaller group is actually subscribed. And if you are listening to an episode about releasing old emotional weight, that already tells me something important about you. You care about your inner world. Subscribing isn't just supporting this podcast, it's reinforcing a commitment to your own growth. So when you subscribe, you are choosing regular access to conversations grounded in neuroscience and psychology, designed to help you create clarity instead of carrying old interpretations that drain your energy. Every episode builds on the one before it. Each one gives you another tool to understand your mind, update old meanings, and strengthen your ability to navigate life with confidence. And staying connected to that rhythm really does matter. So if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment now and do it. Subscribe now. It helps more people find these conversations, and it affirms the direction you are choosing for your emotional well-being. Let's keep going. Let's talk about why letting go feels so difficult. There is a reason your mind keeps returning to certain moments, certain conversations, and certain memories built into thoughts that feel heavier than they should. And that reason lives in how the conscious mind is processing the meaning alone or in collaboration with your non-conscious mind. So when something strongly impactful and emotional happens, the mind stores that experience and this intense emotional meaning you made in that moment, stores it all together in a thought. The non-conscious mind, in addition to storing the problem, also immediately generates alternative solutions to this toxic thought. So it builds healthy thoughts around it, which are not always immediately obvious. So all the work I do is to help you get the conscious mind to work with the unconscious mind to find these solutions. And in doing so, help you change how the past experiences play out into your future. Today, we are looking at how to let things go that are holding you back. Letting go requires realizing that meaning, and to update meanings, you need this collaboration between the 2 parts of your mind. There is a well-established principle in mind, brain, body processing. The conscious mind attempts to complete or improve what feels unresolved, doesn't like gaps. And this is why people get stuck in regret cycles and replay moments long after they're over. The conscious mind is trying to integrate the emotional information it never fully understood, but it can't until it collaborates with the non-conscious mind. It can't find a resolution, so it just goes round and round like on a hamster wheel. An unfinished interpretation really makes it hard to let go. Think about a moment from your life that still lingers. It could be something someone said, or something you wish you had said, or a choice you wish you had made, or a disappointment that shifted your direction. When the conscious mind pairs that moment with a strong emotional response, without actually understanding it, the meaning becomes very sticky. For example, if you felt embarrassed in a moment, the meaning might have become, that moment defines how people see. Broad, catastrophic statement that can keep you ruminating. If someone dismissed you, the meaning might have become, my voice doesn't matter. See, very broad statements. If something ended unexpectedly, the meaning might have become, good things don't last for me. Each of these meanings is an interpretation your conscious mind created to try to understand the experience on its own. If it tapped into the non-conscious, it would have understood it. So the interpretation feels real, but they're incorrect. They feel real because they're so salient, so strong. They have such a big impact. So it's only when we choose to step back into wisdom that we can get unstuck and let go. Let's bring in another mind-brain-body principle, rumination. Rumination is the repeated focus on the same thought or emotional moment. Rumination isn't a deliberate choice. It signals that the conscious mind is stalled because it's operating in isolation from the unconscious mind. You don't ruminate because you enjoy the memory, rather you ruminate because your conscious mind is trying to address and understand the information in that moment. Yet it approaches this task illogically by repeatedly fixating on the same details. It doesn't solve the problem, doesn't progress forward. So the key to letting go is to step back, embrace this toxic thought, fully process it, and ultimately reconceptualize it. The brain and mind work together to reinforce these loops. So when the conscious mind tries to create a meaning, especially one linked to safety, identity, or belonging, it wires this into the brain using a code. When you ruminate, this code gets stronger, so the network in the brain and body grows. This is why certain memories feel very vivid, even years later. It's not because the memory is new, it's because the meaning is active. Imagine your meaning as a light switch. As long as the switch stays on, the emotional pattern stays powered. Let's make this more relatable. Think about the way one small comment can echo in your mind for days. The mind isn't responding to the comment alone, it's responding to the meaning attached to it. Think about how you can feel defensive in situations that are completely safe. Your mind is once again responding to the meaning, not the moment. These patterns all come from the same place, unresolved toxic thoughts. And the conscious mind uses these to predict future emotional outcomes until they change, so it keeps doing the same thing over and over. That's where the rumination comes from. So when a current situation resembles something from the past, the conscious mind predicts a similar emotional response. This prediction often influences your reaction before you even have time to evaluate the moment consciously. And this is why we need to train ourselves to collaborate with the non-conscious. We need to choose to make a decision to stand back and train ourselves. This is why letting go and not ruminating requires clarity, not force. You've got to get clear, understand. You can't force yourself to stop. You cannot release a prediction until you update the meaning it's built on. Let's use a single, simple metaphor. Imagine your mind is a bookshelf. Every emotional experience has a book. When something happens today, your mind searches the shelf for a similar book. If it finds one with unresolved meaning, it pulls it forward immediately. That book becomes the lens for how you interpret the moment. Many of these books were written when you were younger or stressed or overwhelmed or unprepared or trying to make sense of something with limited tools. So these books haven't been revised in years, so they're not giving you the correct information. They're just keeping you more stuck. When you understand this, something really powerful happens. The minute you understand this, or choose to stop and just process, you step back into your brilliance, your intelligence, your non-conscious mind, and you stop blaming yourself for not being able to let it go. And you start recognizing that your conscious mind's just been trying to protect you using outdated information. The emotional weight is not a flaw, it's a signal, and signals can always be updated. So before we move into the 3 strategies, let's take a moment to sit with this. You are not stuck because you are unwilling to move forward. You are stuck because your conscious mind is waiting for updated meanings, and until it comes, it gets stuck. Once you give it that clarity, by stepping back and listening to the non-conscious, your brilliance, your intelligence, the emotional grip begins to loosen. So now let's dive into strategy. Strategy 1 begins with the truth most people never consider. You are not holding onto the moment itself. You are holding onto the meaning your conscious mind attached to that moment and then built it into a thought in your mind and brain and body network. The event ended, but the meaning stayed active. And the meaning is what keeps pulling you back into the same emotional state. This is why you can think about something that happened years ago and still feel the same physical reaction today. The mind stored an interpretation, and the brain responds to that stored interpretation as if it's still relevant. Let's look at an example. You might think you're holding onto a breakup, but the deeper truth is that you're holding onto what you believed it said about you. Maybe that you weren't good enough, or you weren't enough, or that you were easy to leave, or that your value depended on someone else's preference. You might think you are holding onto an argument, but you're really holding onto the meaning you created in the moment you felt misunderstood, dismissed, or unseen. You might think you're holding onto a mistake, but you're actually holding on to the identity you felt in the moment you made it, uncertain, embarrassed, unprepared. So you're not carrying the moment, you're carrying the meaning of the moment. Mind-brain research shows that when something feels emotionally unfinished, the conscious mind keeps that meaning active. It doesn't do it to punish you. It does it because it hasn't yet found clarity. It's trying to find meaning. So the loop stays open as an invitation to embrace, process, and reconceptualize. This is why it feels like you keep returning to the same memory. The conscious mind is still trying to resolve the meaning and will stay ruminating until it goes deeper into the collaborative relationship with the non-conscious mind. Think of a situation from your life that still stings. Bring it into focus for a moment. Ask yourself, what did that moment make me believe about myself, about others, about what is possible for me? Those questions reveal the real thing you're holding. Maybe the moment made you believe your needs were too much, or maybe it made you believe you needed to be perfect to be accepted. Maybe it made you believe you had to stay small to stay safe. Maybe it made you believe that love, opportunity, or stability were unpredictable. The belief inside the toxic thought of the event, not the event itself, is what creates the emotional weight. The belief creates the weight that keeps you stuck. Here's another way to identify what you're holding that activates this collaboration effect. Pay attention to the emotional pattern that repeats. The mind stores meaning in those networks. So if the same feeling appears in different situations, it's tied to a deeper interpretation. For example, someone not texting you back creates the same feeling as being ignored years ago. A mild correction at work triggers the same heat in your chest as a moment when you felt ashamed years ago. A cancelled plan brings up the same sense of being unimportant from years ago. Different situations, same emotional signature, and it's that signature that points to the meaning that never got updated. Let's use a simple metaphor to ground this. Imagine you have a suitcase. The moment from your past was the suitcase, but what you packed inside, the fear, the assumptions, the interpretation, that's what you've been carrying through every airport of your life. The suitcase itself didn't travel, what you packed it. This is why identifying the meaning really does matter. You cannot release what you haven't renamed. As you choose to do this, you're choosing to open the doors to the collaboration between the conscious and the non-conscious mind. Now, let's look at a few real examples of what people are truly holding. Someone who replays an awkward moment isn't holding awkwardness. They are holding the belief that they don't handle pressure well, or something like that. Someone who replays a rejection isn't holding the rejection. They are holding the belief that they're easy to walk away from. Someone who replays a loss isn't holding the loss. They are holding the belief that good things disappear. None of these interpretations are destiny. They are simply meanings the conscious mind created in a moment of vulnerability. Try saying it as one sentence. I'm not holding the moment. I'm holding the belief that. And finish the sentence honestly. That sentence out loud creates the collaboration you need. This clarity is the doorway to release. Once you see what the mind has been protecting, you can update the meaning. You can reconceptualize the meaning. And the emotional grip will loosen. Now you're ready for strategy 2. Once you identify what you are actually holding, strategy 2 becomes the moment you reconceptualize and reconstruct the interpretation. This is where you update the meaning your mind created during an emotionally intense experience in the past. The mind responds, as I've said so many times now, to meaning before it responds to reality. That's why we do things and say things and think, why did I react like that? Because we've hung on to the meaning. This is why the non-conscious is always trying to get your conscious mind's attention through the force signals of emotions, behaviors, bodily sensations, and perspectives to try and help you find the meaning. Because when the meaning's outdated, the reaction just stays alive. So those signals are to catch your attention to update the meaning. When the meaning becomes more accurate and updated, the emotional loop finally begins to stop. Mind, brain, body research has shown something very consistent. The meaning that you assign to a moment shapes the way your brain wires around that moment. If the meaning says, this moment defines me, your brain is instructed by the mind to code that reference point. If the meaning says, this moment taught me something, but it does not describe who I am, the brain responds differently, but it's a healthy code versus a distorted code. Meaning directs the neural pathway, therefore. Updating the meaning directs the shift. So let's walk through examples so this feels more real. So imagine a moment where someone maybe dismissed you. The old meaning might have been, my voice doesn't matter. The realized meaning might be, their response reflected their internal state, not my worth. Or imagine a mistake that you've replayed for years. The old meaning might have been, this proves I'm not capable. The reconceptualized meaning might be, this moment showed me what I needed to learn, and I grew. Or imagine a relationship that ended painfully. The old meaning might have been, I'm unlovable. The reconceptualized meaning might be, that chapter closed because it no longer aligned with my growth. Old toxic meanings inside toxic thoughts create emotional weight. Reconceptualized meanings inside reconstructed thoughts create emotional clarity. You are rewriting the interpretation. In my work studying the mind, I have learned that our mind-brain-body connections are wired to protect us, which also means that they are wired to fill us with doubt. When I first started sharing neuroscience and mental wellness beyond the clinical world, those what ifs were deafening. What if people don't understand? What if I can't reach the people who need this most? But choosing to push through that mental noise and share tools for mental health and healing, that was one of the best decisions I have ever made. Having Shopify as a partner made it possible to focus on the mission instead of getting lost in the overwhelm. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names to brands just getting started, including mental health educators and wellness practitioners who are changing lives every single day. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. Your healing message looks as professional as it is powerful. Shopify helps you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. Plus, they offer award-winning 24/7 customer support when you need it. It's time to turn those what-ifs into sales with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/leaf. Go to shopify.com/leaf. Okay, can we talk about GLP-1s just for a second? Everyone I know is either on them or thinking about trying them. And honestly, I get it. The results can be real. But here is the thing. I'm not trying to add weekly injections to my routine, and I really wanted to find something natural that actually works, not another miracle gummy or detox tea that does absolutely nothing except make my wallet lighter. This podcast is sponsored by Veracity, and they are changing the game. Veracity is all about tackling metabolism at the root with drug-free, clinically proven solutions. Their product, Metabolism Ignite, is the #1 doctor-recommended GLP-1 booster and GLP-1 alternative. It's plant-based, no side effects, no allergens, just a natural blend of lemon verbena, hibiscus extract, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. Clinical trials showed an 85% reduction in hunger and an average weight loss of 9 pounds in 90 days. And get this, even if you're already on a GLP-1 medication, Veracity is safe to take alongside them to boost your metabolism and appetite control. Plus, it's safe for new moms. Whether you are pregnant or breastfeeding, you can take care of yourself while you're taking care of your baby. I love that this is scientifically legit without a scary warning label. Just 2 capsules every morning with breakfast and you're set. Easy. So make the switch to GLP-1s the natural way. Head to veracityhealth.co and use the code DrLeaf for up to 60% off your order. Once again, that's veracityhealth.co for up to 60% off. And make sure you use my promo code DrLeaf so they know I sent you. Your mind used to protect you. In the moment of the original experience, you were trying to make sense of something overwhelming. The meaning you created then was the best your conscious mind could do in that literal heat of the moment. When you collaborate with your brilliant non-conscious, the seat of your unlimited intelligence, you are giving the conscious mind new information to reference. The brain adjusts accordingly. Signals that once triggered an emotional reaction begin to quieten down because the meaning network linked to that reaction has been reorganized. This is why people feel lighter when they reconceptualize and reconstruct the experience. The weight was in that meaning, not the actual memory per se. Imagine the old meaning as a label stuck to a memory. Every time the memory comes up, the label dictates the feeling. When you update the meaning, you replace the label. Simple analogy. The memory stays the same, but the feeling that accompanies it will shift. This is the art of letting go, not erasing, but reinterpreting. Let's explore more examples so you can find your own. Someone who believes, I always fail at the important moments, can shift that meaning to, that experience revealed where I needed support and growth. Someone who believes, I can't trust myself after a decision they regret, can shift the meaning to, I made that choice with the understanding I had at that time. And I've learned since then. Each updated, reconceptualized meaning creates space for release. To do this step, speak the old meaning clearly, then speak the accurate, reconceptualized meaning directly after it. You could even write 2 columns on a page and do them on either side. So you're not forcing positivity at all. You are practicing accuracy. And accuracy calms the mind far more than forced optimism ever could. Here's a simple structure. The old meaning was X. The accurate reconceptualized meaning is Y. Say it plainly, without emotional exaggeration. The mind responds to clarity. Let's simplify strategy 2. Identify the meaning in your mind, create it in the original moment. Then update it, reconceptualize it using the insight, maturity, and clarity you have today. This is the moment the emotional grip begins to loosen, and you are now ready for strategy 3, releasing through intentional action. Strategy 3 is where letting go becomes something you can feel, not as a concept, not as hope, but an actual shift in the way your internal world responds. Because letting go isn't an emotion, it's a sequence of intentional actions that teach your mind the experience is complete. Action is what signals closure. Mind-brain-body research has shown consistently that habits form when we practice newly reconceptualized thoughts through lived experience. You can understand a new meaning intellectually, which is so important, but your mind fully accepts it only when your behavior reflects it. You've got to do it. And this is why people often feel lighter after taking even one aligned step. The conscious mind has collaborated with the non-conscious mind, and you begin to learn. You're not living in the old story anymore. That single step became the message your mind has been waiting for. So, what does releasing through action look like? Let's make it concrete. Imagine the old meaning was, my voice causes conflict. You reconceptualized and reconstructed the meaning to, my voice brings clarity. The release action might be speaking one sentence you would usually swallow. Or maybe the old meaning was, I should feel ashamed of that moment. The reconceptualized and reconstructed meaning becomes, that moment shaped my growth. The release action might be acknowledging it without spiraling into self-judgment. The reconceptualized and reconstructed meaning becomes, my identity is mine. The release action might be ending a mental rehearsal loop the moment it starts. Here's another example. If the meaning was, I was responsible for keeping the peace, and the reconceptualized and reconstructed meaning is, I'm responsible for honesty. The release action might be expressing one boundary that matches your current self, not your past self. If the old meaning was, I should feel guilty for moving on, and the reconceptualized and reconstructed meaning is, I'm allowed to grow and move on. The release action might be taking one small step toward the future you've been hesitant to pursue. Every release action tells your mind, this chapter is complete. When you take an intentional action aligned with your updated meaning, you rewire the brain's prediction loop that was set up around the incorrect meaning. The conscious mind can no longer rely on the old interpretation because your behavior is offering new data. Over time, those predictions adjust, the emotional residue attached to the old meaning begins to quiet, and a habit forms. This is why release feels like space. Imagine your mind has been holding a rope connected to the old expectation. Every rumination, every revisit, every emotional reaction tightens the grip. But the release action is the moment your hand opens. It might be small, but small is so powerful. Now let's talk about what release is not. Release is not pretending the moment never happened. It did. You can never get rid of the past, but you can reshape it, reconceptualize it. It's also not suppressing the emotion. If you do, you explode. It's also not forcing yourself to think positive, but that's impossible. Release is the quiet decision to align your behavior with your present self instead of your past meaning. Release is when the non-conscious and conscious mind collaborate to embrace, process, reconceptualize, and reconstruct the toxic thought. It can sound like, I don't need to replay this. I don't need to justify myself again. I don't need to stay in this loop. I can choose a different response. I can look like closing the message thread, ending the mental rehearsal, choosing a different emotional direction, taking a grounded breath, or stepping into a moment you used to avoid. Release lives in those micro moments. One of the best things I do for my mental health is cook at home. There's something so grounding about it. Being present, nourishing your family, slowing down at the end of a busy day. And HelloFresh makes that so much easier. With more than 100 recipes to choose from every week, including cuisines from around the world, HelloFresh brings everyone to the table with meals that are simple, rewarding, and genuinely delicious. We're talking bigger portions, high protein options, Mediterranean inspired dishes, even GLP-1 friendly meals. Plus, wholesome ingredients like sustainably sourced seafood and 100% antibiotic and hormone free chicken. They've even tripled the seafood options at no extra costs. Because when dinner tastes this good, nothing hits like home cooking. I use HelloFresh and you should too. Go to hellofresh.com/drleaf10fm to get 10 free meals plus a free zwilling knife, a $144.99 value on your third box. Offer is valid while supplies last. Free meals applied as discount on the first box. New subscribers only, and it varies by plan. Can I tell you about something that's genuinely changed my sleep? My Brooklyn bedding mattress. I know everyone says that about their mattress, but here's the thing. This one actually delivers. You know, the first night I slept on it, I noticed how solid it felt. Not hard, I don't like hard beds, but just stable, like it was built to last decades and not just a couple of years. And then there's this perfect balance, supportive underneath, but soft enough on top that you just sink in just right. I'm finally waking up feeling rested instead of like I wrestled my way through another night. What I love about Brooklyn Bedding is that they design and assemble every mattress in their Arizona factory. There's no middleman, so there's no inflated prices. Just honest American craftsmanship and real quality. They have been endorsed by the American Chiropractic Association for spinal alignment. They are 100% fiberglass free. And if you sleep hot like I do, they use cooling technology like Glacier Tex covers and copper infused foams to keep you comfortable all night. Plus, they offer a 120 night comfort trial. If it's not right for you, they'll help you return it or swap it. No hassle. Go to brooklynbedding.com and use my promo code Dr. Leaf at checkout to get 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. That's brooklynbedding.com and the promo code is Dr. Leaf for 30% off site-wide. Support our show and let them know we sent you after checkout. brooklynbedding.com, promo code Dr. Leaf. So let's simplify. Strategy 3. Once you have updated the meaning, choose one action, small, honest, aligned, that reinforces the new interpretation. Do it once, do it more, you build a habit. You're not transforming your entire identity in a day. You're doing it over time. You're showing your mind what the new chapter feels like. That is the beginning of real release. Before we end today, I want you to sit with something important. Letting go isn't a moment of forgetting. It isn't a moment of trying to erase. It's actually a moment of reclaiming your internal space through reconceptualization. You walked through the entire process today, naming what you've been carrying, updating the meaning that shaped it, and choosing the intentional action that signals release. Those steps may feel simple, and they are, but they are so powerful. They will help recalibrate that toxic thought inside your mind. Think about where you were at the start of this episode. There was something that's appeared in your thoughts without warning, something that shaped how you responded, protected yourself, or withdrew from moments that deserved your presence. Now notice what has shifted. Getting this knowledge, you understand the weight differently. You understand your reactions differently. You understand your mind a little differently. Your internal world is not the same as it was 30 minutes ago. Research shows that clarity reduces emotional intensity. When you identify the meaning underneath an old experience, the mind no longer needs to hold it so tightly. When you reconceptualize and reconstruct the interpretation, the brain begins reorganizing the networks connected to that set of memories inside the thought. When you take aligned action, the prediction loop quiets and you build a habit, a new habit. This is what release feels like. Lightness, internal permission to move forward. The version of you who created the old meaning wasn't wrong. That version of you was doing the best they could with the understanding they had at that moment. They were trying to make sense of something very overwhelming. But you outgrew the meaning, not the moment. It's really important to remember that letting go is not a dismissal of your past. It is a recognition that you have more clarity now than you had then. It is an act of self-respect. It's the decision to stop letting an old interpretation shape the way you see yourself. Imagine what becomes possible when your mind is no longer carrying weight that doesn't belong to your present life. Imagine making decisions without hesitation or showing up without the old emotional echo banging through your head. Imagine trusting yourself without questioning your every move. Imagine a room that opens inside you. That room is your future. So take a breath, feel the difference in your body. You did the real work today, not surface work. And this is really the beginning of release. It's the beginning of seeing yourself without the filter of old meaning. And you're ready for it. I'll see you in the next episode.